there was a question, or at least a report that you're going to play in World. Is that the fact? Is that the case?
Well, it's not for sure or anything. I'm just going to take the weekend to kind of see what I'm going to do and decide in the next day or two here. So it's not a decision any which way yet.
Well, the fact that the NHL's not planning to go to the Olympics weigh in your mind at all when you make a decision?
Yeah, no, not really. Not really. I think anytime you get a chance to represent your country, you're always gonna look at that opportunity and think it through. So, like I said, I'll think about the next day or two here and try and come up with the right decision.
You're still feeling disappointed 2 days later, maybe even more so now that the dust has settled a little bit?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's not a good situation to be in because even last year we lost in Game 7 and it was a good series, and you still didn't really have this type of taste in your mouth after getting swept in the first round when you feel you have a chance to do some special things. So no one's happy. It's been a quiet room the past few days, and definitely a better taste.
Stan said he needs to make changes, but the way the roster is built, there's not a whole lot of drastic things that can be done. What does need to change, though, for you guys going forward?
Well, I mean, I think it's you can pick apart every little piece of the puzzle right now. I mean, it's you can say nothing went right in that last series. So I think sometimes when things are negative, you try to look at the bright side and look at some special things we did do this season. But at the same time, like Stan said, I'm sure there's going to have to be some moves made when you can't get done in the playoffs or don't even come close. So we'll leave that up to the management.
Stan and Q both, put their finger on like intensity, maybe like a lack of intensity. Did you feel that there was a lack of intensity, and if so, why do you think the reason is for that?
Well, I think a lot of good things were said in the locker room, and I think it was we try to keep everyone confident, and for whatever reason, it just didn't really translate to actually doing it on the ice. So I don't know if we lacked necessarily the word intensity as far as preparation and being ready to play and being excited about playing, but maybe when it got on the ice, the lack of execution kind of set in a little bit.
Did it feel like Nashville wanted it a tick more, or no?
Well, I mean, I don't think there's any doubt. I think if you watch that series or rewatch games, they seem like the faster team, the hungrier team. So, maybe we were in a situation where we were maybe looking past a team like Nashville and thinking that we were going to go on and it was going to be an easy series, and we were just getting ourselves ready for what was to come down the road. So, it's easy to say all of this stuff now, but I guess if you look back and watch the games from that series, you could probably say they wanted it a bit more.
How would you describe your season personally?
I think it was a good season. I'm not going to call it a great season, but I think there were some things I did well. I still think my game's improving in a lot of different areas, but I definitely want to take the time this summer, get myself ready, do whatever I can to come back next year and get off to a big start and take off from there.
You guys worked so hard to get to the playoffs and to have it be over in 1 week, and now have to look at basically 51 more weeks of waiting to get to that point again. How daunting is that to think about?
Well, I mean, let's not get ahead of ourselves here. I think we're still thinking about the loss and kind of what transpired over the past couple weeks, and we'll think about that, let that set in. Like I said the other night after the game, no doubt it's going to be a long summer, but I think you can use that as fuel and motivation to come back and just be ready for the beginning of the season next year, not look too far ahead. But I think, for a lot of us, this is probably the worst feeling we've had after any season, because there's, I think you look at the games, it's not like we're really even close in the games either. So a lot to kind of digest and get ourselves ready for coming up next season.
This team had some puck possession issues on and off throughout the season, and then those obviously haunted you in the playoffs. How do you fix those? What's the biggest keys that you guys need to change to get the puck back?
Well, we've always been a puck possession team. We want to keep the puck. I think maybe in situations it's not necessarily about getting it back, but maybe holding on to it and keeping it a bit more. And if you do have to give it up, I think we always talk about it as a team. You want to put it in the right areas where you're able to get it back quicker, get it to a guy with speed. So I guess that's. Maybe more technical and things you think about coming up when you start playing again next season.
Patrick, this first round exit is so mystifying. Is that unnerving in itself, and that you don't know the answers, and maybe at any level wondering if you've lost your touch as a team, or just not the same as it used to be?
No, I don't think so. I think you've seen it in the past where teams like let's go back to last year. A team like Pittsburgh, they got off to a rough start, and then they get hot at the end, and it kind of takes them throughout the playoffs. I think that was kind of similar with us this year, where maybe it was the opposite effect, where we got off to a good start, had a great January and middle of the season, and then maybe the last couple games of the regular season and into playoffs, you kind of limp into playoffs a little bit. So and then all of a sudden you play 4 games and it's over. So it's weird in a way it works like that. It's a funny league, but you need to have that momentum. You need to be feeling good about your team, and I think going into playoffs, especially in this day and age when top seed can lose very easily, you need to be firing on all cylinders.
You guys have coasted into the playoffs before, though, or pulled the foot off the gas a little bit because Joel wanted to rest some guys. Do you think not having as many veterans this time hurt? Because in the past you guys could rely on more guys that have been through it before.
Well, I think we all value our rest, and I think the coaches do a great job doing that throughout the season, at the end of the season, whenever it may be. So I don't think that's an excuse for us that we didn't have enough rest. But I still think. I don't know if I agree with you necessarily on that statement that we didn't have a lot of veterans. I think we were one of the older teams in the league, and we had guys not just with the Blackhawks organization, but guys that come in from other teams too, and had some veteran presence too.
How much time did you have? How much fun did you have chasing number 1 spot in points, and how bittersweet feeling you have that you didn't reach it?
Well, it's always something to kind of strive for there at the end of the season. I don't know if it's anything I'm thinking about too much right now, but I think it's I think as an offensive player you judge kind of how you're doing by numbers and stats and whatever it may be to kind of track your progression and what you're doing on the ice. But it's always kind of fun to be in those races. And McDavid had a great season and kind of took off there at the end of the season. I think he was on fire, so it was fun to watch him there, and it's cool to see him get 100 points as well.
Did Nashville, did they do anything differently in their neutral zone setup at all that you guys had not seen before, or kind of caught you off guard?
They just kind of sat back. I think you've seen it before. Teams like Tampa Bay, where they kind of sit back in that 1-3-1. You see Ottawa do it. I actually thought it was funny that Nashville was doing it, because if you can remember a few years back when Tampa Bay was doing it, Philly was just holding on to the puck when Laviolette was the coach, like they were trying to prove a point. So it's funny that's kind of what he had them going out to play against us. But I think the biggest thing is you try to get speed through it, and if they sit back, they should be standing still. You should be able to chip pucks by them, but they flood that side of the ice. They just kind of sit back and wait for you to come at them. So I think Joel had a good name for it. I think he called it Red Rover, and a team like that, I think you kind of hope they don't win, because I don't know if that's necessarily the best way to watch hockey games and to actually have that excitement level. But
One more.
on the other level, they played good going the other way too. They kind of sat back, but their transition game was fast, and they played with a lot of speed the other way. That gave us problems.
What's the decision to go into
Last one.
to go to the Worlds? What factors do you weigh?
Well, I think there's, I think first and foremost, just playing for Team USA would be a great honor, and I think that kind of outweighs everything if you're thinking about playing. But at the same time, I think you want to be ready coming up next season. I think sometimes some rest and get away from the game is good as well. It's a long tournament. It's about a 4-week tournament, so there's a lot of time kind of cut into your summer off that. Not that it would have mattered if we went far anyways, but it's a little bit different hockey as well. But I think just the main idea of representing your country again could be the biggest standpoint.